Last year, Constitution DAO raised over $40 million to buy an original copy of the U.S. Constitution. And I know that's an oxymoron, original copy, but it turns out that there were multiple versions of the U.S. Constitution that were created and signed by the original participants. Therefore, that's why they say original copy. But unfortunately for the DAO, they lost the auction. But on a positive side, it inspired countless other DAOs to do similar things. But have you ever wondered what would happen if a DAO loses their physical assets in a fire or something? That is what we're going to explore today. Hello, I'm Taj, digitally known as Tropic Vibes, the host of Nifty Business, where we highlight NFTs and explore Web 3.0 as we move from pure speculation to creating real-world value. In theory, joining a DAO is like investing into a corporation. Each of those NFTs or shares or whatever it is, however this is divided up, gives the owner voting rights, just like holding stocks. These DAO members can express their concerns, the direction of the company that they want to go in, their approval or disapproval for management, and so forth. So it's sort of like having shares, but also being a board member. Of course, we're making this stuff up and we're exploring this as we're going forward, but it seems like DAOs are really here to stay. And in addition to that, there is also limited liability. Like corporations, in theory, only the amount of funds that a DAO member or a shareholder puts into a corporation they can actually lose. So, for example, in a traditional business, a sole proprietor, let's say Mike's Auto Parts. If Mike ends up ruining somebody's brakes, they get into a car accident, they can sue Mike for his business, his house, and everything that he has if he's a sole proprietor. But a corporation limits everything that Mike has done under that corporate name, assuming that everything is done correctly, legally, with the accounting and so forth. If for some reason the company is sued, Mike might lose his company, but he could still keep his house, his retirement fund, and college savings for the kids. And DAOs are supposed to do that same thing, and they're getting legal protection in certain states and certain jurisdictions, and they're setting them up just like this. There's actually laws being written all over the world right now on how they should be governed, but in many cases, they're looking at corporate law and policies to govern how these DAOs are being viewed. But here's the thing that I don't think a lot of people are thinking about. What happens when a DAO holds physical assets? When a corporation has physical assets, there's insurance for those things because they could be lost in a flood, a fire, theft, you name it. But does a DAO do the same thing? So there are a few things that has to be considered. First and foremost, there's going to be insurance premium, and that is something that is a recurring expense. So whether it is paid annually, quarterly, or monthly, that is something that has to be continually paid to that insurance company as long as it wants to be protected. Now, I don't think I really need to go any deeper into that. You should pretty much know how insurance works. But I don't think a lot of DAOs are structured as businesses even thinking of that. Okay, we need to have a continuous stream of income in order to keep this policy on not only the organization itself, but also keep this policy on the assets because anything could happen. Imagine paying $40 million for a copy of the Constitution and then it gets burnt up. As a founder of the DAO, how are you going to turn around to the holders or the participants of the DAO and explain that to them? I mean, that is absolutely one of the most shady things that I could possibly think of. Imagine someone buys a Mona Lisa or some crazy thing that, I don't know. These DAOs are just finding new and interesting things to purchase these days. So imagine if the founder then comes up and says, yeah, we purchased it, but it is lost. Most likely that's heading to court. They're going to think this person is a liar, a fraud, a shyster, like something is wrong. But let's just say everything is above board and there really was a fire and this thing was lost. Well, what if it was not insured? Everyone's $40 million investment just went to zero. So nobody wants insurance or loves insurance until they need it. But in the case of these DAOs, I don't even think they're thinking about insurance. I think they're thinking about the goal, the mission that's at hand, and they're just trying to accomplish whatever it is that they have organized for, they have pooled their funds together for. But I think it's very important as a DAO participant, as a member within one of these organizations, to raise that question. Well, is this thing that we're going to be buying insured? How is it that it's going to have its premium paid continually? Because we can't really depend on the secondary sales of these NFTs. What are we going to do as an organization to go forward knowing that this thing needs to be protected as long as we're holding it? Are we going to hope for a sale in a very short period of time and use those proceeds to then fund the next thing? Or what? What are we going to do? I think it is very important that that is laid out up front, a plan, whether it is only using a percentage of the initial formation fees to make a purchase and then using the reserves to pay that premium or what. But unless this is put out there up front from day one, I don't think this is something that I would ever want to get into, because anything could happen. And I'm just talking about people being upfront, assuming that these are legitimate founders with no ill will or fraudulent intentions, and everything goes above board, and there really is some sort of disaster that destroys this thing. So from this, I think a lot of opportunities will be within the whole insurance game as far as someone who might be able to insure these assets. So if you're someone who is in insurance, I would love to hear your perspective on this. How would this exactly work? Do you have any experience working with DAOs or maybe a nonprofit organization? Maybe it would fall under that. But please feel free to weigh in on this topic. This is something that I'm exploring and I've really been thinking about very hard. I am neither a lawyer or an insurance specialist, but I want to raise the issue here because I don't think a lot of people are even thinking about this. Please feel free to reach out to me at Tropic Vibes with your thoughts and comments on this issue. As usual, I want to thank you for taking time to listen to this as we're learning and building Web3 together. So until next time, later.
The Nifty Business Arrow is not investment advice. It provides insights and information within the space. As with anything, please do your own research before making a decision whether you're making an investment or a purchase.